Okay, if you go to the internet, you're going to notice a lot of these questions you're seeing here involve parameters, which makes it more difficult. If these were numbers, it would probably be easier for me to handle. But anyway, they're parameters like m, n, n, and x is the variable in the problem. And I need to solve this for x. I hope that's clear. We're solving for x. Let's go to the whiteboard. Looks like a tough problem for me. And I'm hoping it's going to work out pretty easily, by the way. So the first thing is just, write it down. I'm going to solve for x. That's what, write this down here. I'm going to solve for x. And my equation is, it's a root, mx, and then, let's see, plus a root, and that's going to be m minus n, x plus mn. And you gotta be careful with your penmanship here because an m could start to look like an n in no time at all. And that equals to 2m. Now, what I would do, it might seem thuggish to you, but I'm not looking for any kind of tricks in a problem. I'm just looking to see if I can isolate one of the radicals. And the worst radical to isolate would be this one over here. And that's m minus n, x, plus mn equals 2m minus the root of mx. What I want to do now is square both sides. And what would you get? You'd get m minus n x plus mn equals, well, squaring the right side is more difficult. I would get 4m squared plus mx minus, let's see, you'd get 4m root mx, all right? And what I'm going to do now is, certainly I got, one root, I got to get rid of that. I got to isolate that now. And before I do that, I want to simplify the left side a little bit. I get mx minus nx plus mn equals 4m squared plus mx minus 4m root mx. All right, so I'm going to try to isolate that radical, and I'm going to put it on one side, so it's 4m root mx. All right, so I got that part done. Let me just put on, I just took care of that. Now I'm kind of looking at this thing over here, and I noticed like right away that these things disappear. So let me write down what I'm left off with. I'm left off with 4m squared plus nx plus mn. All right, so let me just see if I did okay there. Yeah, I think so. So what I want to do is like square both sides, and I'll write that down for you. So the left side squared is going to be 16 m squared times mx. Right side's a little more complicated, and what I want to do is I'm going to write it a little differently. I'm going to write it as nx. And let me just see. Oh, you know what? I think I made a mistake there. I just noticed it. So it's going to be nx, and then I can write down plus m times 4m, let's see, minus n, and this whole thing is being squared. All right, let me stop for a moment and see how I did there. So I got the nx, I got the 4m squared, and then minus n. Yeah, look, okay. Let me keep going, and it's going to be 16 m cubed x equals, I'm going to square that. That's going to be n squared, x squared, plus m squared, 4m minus n squared, and then plus 2 n x m 4m minus n. And it does look awful. All right, so let's see if we can maybe clear some things up here. All right, and clearing them up, it looks quadratic in x now. All right, so I'm going to try to do that. All right, try to do that. So I'm going to say, 0, and I'm going to start writing them down in sort of an order. So n squared, x squared. And I'll put the x down now. So I'm going to put down plus, I'm putting this term down now. That's going to be 2n m 4m minus n. Put this in a parentheses over here, a bracket. Let's see if I got that. 2nm, 4m minus n. And then I'll subtract this from both sides, which would be minus 16m cubed. And now to have a coefficient of the x. That's the coefficient of x, by the way. Then when you're left off with this plus m squared 4m minus n quantity squared. All right? So I'm looking at this and wondering what to do about it. And I'm going to maybe simplify it a little tiny bit. And let's take a look at that now. So I get 0 equals n squared, x squared, plus, and I'm going to try to simplify this over here. I don't think it really simplifies that nicely, but let me just look at that. I'm going to write down, it looks like, 2 times 4 is 8. Then I get n, m squared, minus 2, right? I get n squared, m, and I get minus 16m cubed. Over here, I don't think really simplifying that's going to help much, so I'm just going to write down m squared, 4m minus n squared. Let me stop and admire that for a second. I think I've got to factor the middle guy. Let me write this over here for you. I'm trying to get this thing look, a little bit easier for me to look at. And let me look at that. And I'm going to factor out, because I get that leading m cubed there, I'm going to factor out, it looks like minus 2m. What would be left off with? I'm looking at this guy over here. That's going to give me 8m squared. Then I'm going to get plus, now let's go for the middle one. So it's going to be, I'm going to do this one over here. So it's going to be, let's see, minus 4nm. You can put this in alphabetical order. All right. And then I'm going to do this guy over here. And what would you get over there? That's going to be plus n squared. And then I get plus, let's see, m squared. This is tough now, I know that. 4m minus n quantity squared. All right, here comes the tough part. The tough part is I have to factor that. And looking at it, you could do it by trial and error, by the way. I'm not saying otherwise you couldn't do that, but I'm going to say trial and error just, all these m and m's, I'm confused at this point. I'm going to use quadratic formula. And so I'm going to say x equals, here comes the tough part. All right, I'm solving for x, by the way. What goes to the bottom? That's going to be 2 times the coefficient on the square term. So 2n squared. That's not so bad. What goes on top? The opposite of the coefficient on the linear term. So it's going to be 2m times 8m squared minus 4mn plus n squared, plus or minus, here comes the tough part. It always is, by the way. Someone says, what is that? What about? I have to square things. And that looks like it might be a problem for me. And what am I squaring first? The coefficient on the linear term. So I'm going to say 4m squared. And then 8m squared minus 4mn plus n squared squared minus 4 times the coefficient on the square term, which is n squared, times c, which is m squared, 4m minus n quantity squared. I'll put that over there. All right. So, what do you do now? I guess I gotta do, that's something for the radicand, right? So I gotta do this over here. And I'm looking at it, and I want to be careful about that. I want to look at this first, by the way. I'm looking at the n squared minus 4mn plus 8m squared. And I'm going to say, maybe I could write this down as n and n. I'm just looking around for things to do, by the way. And I'm going to say, let's see, 2 and 4. Let me see, 2 and 4. 2 times 4 is 8, right? That's not going to give me a 4 in the middle, by the way. It might be tough to do, doesn't it? So I'm not going to do that. Right? That looks like it's too difficult. Let me erase that over here. I still want to simplify the radicand, by the way. And I want to work on it now. All right? So the first thing I'm going to do is just I got to square it, though, don't I? Looking for something simple to do. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is just factor out 4m squared. And what would you get there? 8m squared minus 4mn plus n squared squared minus n squared 4m minus n squared. Well, I got something, that looks more doable to me now. I'll tell you why. I'm not going to square it. I'm going to use difference of perfect squares now. So 4m squared. This is going to be 8m squared minus 4mn plus n squared plus n squared 4m minus n. I'm sorry, not n squared. Sorry about that. I'm getting my eraser out. I can't fit it in, so I'll put it over here. And the reason for that is I want to look at these things. M squared minus 4mn plus n squared minus n, 4m minus n. Right, I'm going to keep rewriting that. I'm just doing the radicand. I'll erase this nonsense in a second, by the way. I shouldn't say nonsense, but it's like tedious, isn't it? So 4m squared. And then, here you'd get, 8m squared. I'll write that down for you. 8m squared minus 4mn plus n squared. And this would be plus, let's see, 4mn. Isn't that convenient? And minus n squared. And I noticed that, a lot of things disappear there. Right, the n squared disappears and the 4m. You just left over 8m squared. Let's do the next one. And I kind of already did it already. I'm looking at this. I got this stuff on the top, but I'll write it down again for you. So it's 8m squared minus 4mn plus n squared minus 4mn, right? And then what are you going to get? You can get plus n squared. And what does that give you? Well, you get 8m squared minus 8mn plus 2n squared. All right? Again, I'm just working on that radicand at this point, which is the worst thing I got to deal with over here. So what do you get over here? 4m squared. You get 8m squared. I'm going to look at these guys over here and realize I can factor out a 2. I'll put this over here, 2. And then what are you left off with? 4m squared minus 4mn plus n squared. All right? And I'm going to look at this thing. I'm going to keep going. And as I keep going, it seems like it's work after work after work. So let's see, 64, M4. That's not so bad, right? Because, 2 times 8 is 16, and 16 to the 4 is 64, and I get M4. Then I'm noticing over here, what do I get over here? I get something pretty nice, by the way. I get 2m minus n squared. That's an m, by the way. Boy, isn't that convenient? That whole thing really turned out to be quite nice. So I want to write this down for you. X equals, it's going to be plus or minus the square root of this thing I just completed, which is going to be 8m squared, 2m minus n to the first power. All right? So, by the way, you don't have to worry about absolute because there's a plus or minus there, which makes it really convenient for me. And then I'll write the other thing down. It's going to be, what, 2m. And then you get 8m squared. I'm just copying, by the way. Minus 4mn plus n squared over 2n squared. All right, I gotta do the work now, and someone says, where's this gonna land? I have no idea. But things are working out as advertised, so to speak. And let's write this down, 16 m cubed minus 8m squared n plus 2m n squared. Now, plus or minus, this is the tricky part over here. I'm going to put in parentheses, by the way. So it's going to be 16 m cubed minus 8m squared n all over 2n squared. Well, let's do one thing at a time. I'm going to do the addition part first. All right, let's do that first. What do you get? Well, 16 and 16 is 32. You get 32 m cubes. And then if I do the addition, I would get minus 16 m squared n. And I get plus 2m n squared over 2n squared. All right? I'm going to do subtraction next. I'm not done with this, by the way. You want to say, why is that? I'm wondering what that is. It looks pretty easy to do. You know what? Maybe I should finish that off. And I'll divide by 2. This will be n squared. 16. And you know what? I'm going to factor out an m on that too. Let me just do that right now. Let me erase this. Try again. I'm dividing by 2, so it's n squared, and I'm factoring in an m from top. So you get 16 n squared minus 8 mn plus n squared. Well, I'm looking at that, wonder what I can do about that. I think I can factor it. And you get m, you get an n. This factors pretty nicely, right? What do you get over there? 4n minus n quantity squared. Let me just take a look. I'm sorry, 4, I think I made it, it's m, I'm sorry, this is m. That makes sense what I put over before there. Let me just take a look at that. 16m squared. Yeah, it looks all right. All right, so I got one x value. Let me just clean it up a little bit. I'll put a, try to make these m's and n look different. That's one of them. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do subtraction now. I'm going to see what happens over there. And you get what? You get x equals, we got 2n squared in the bottom. And if you did the subtraction, 16m cubed minus 16m cubed, that disappears. Minus 8m squared n minus a minus is plus 8m squared n. That disappears. So I'm left off with 2mn squared. This reduces, the 2's cancel, the n squared cancels, and you're left off with just m. That's incredible. All right? So we got our answers over here. We solve for x, and x could be either m, or x could be m, 4m minus n, quantity squared over n. And we're done. This is a tough question, by the way. Thank you.